Now that you started here with. Good, it's working.
That would be worse.
Yeah, so love. Yeah. I would just ask a question, and this would be good to go into for a second. Explain this. Because the whole purpose of this is, and you don't mind if I use your example, right? Okay, good. He's thinking about love, and that the Father and the Son exist, but to use love as the Spirit is kind of a stretch. I understand that thinking, but here's what I would say with that, because if you're having any of those thoughts, you love your wife loves you. That love exists as a unifier, something that unifies you, unites you, but the love itself exists as a thing. It has a reality. Does that make sense? So you're there, your wife's there, and there's this love, hopefully. There is a love that is being reciprocated and given and received, but that love, it's not just some, mystical, thing that isn't real, right? It is real. It has feelings. It has actions. It has tangible, quantifications. You can quantify it. At least you should be able to. So that love is real. That's the way the Holy Spirit is. The Spirit is the love. You have God the Father, you have Jesus Christ, the glory of the Father, manifest expressly image in the Son, the love that comes from the lover to the beloved, and the love that goes back from the beloved to the lover is the Spirit. The Spirit is perfect, is existent, and it's real, just as real as the Father and the Son is. Does that make sense? The love exists. The love unifies, the love brings together. 1 Corinthians 14. Love. What is the Holy Spirit? He never speaks of his own. Right? He says, when he comes, Jesus refers to as him 15 times, I think it is, in John. He refers to him when he comes. So, the Holy Spirit is a mystical a being or some spirit that just kind of moves in and out, has no, reality. It's a he, it's a presence, it's a force, it's him himself will reveal Jesus, right? So you have the Holy Spirit, but he never speaks of his own. What is love? Love doesn't speak of its own. Love is patient, love is kind. And, so you look at all the attributes of love in 1 Corinthians, and you see the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is not less than the Father or the Son. Love between a husband and wife is not less than the husband or less than the wife. You see what I mean? It's equal in them. And it's reciprocated, and it's given, and it's received. So it's this unifying movement. The love is real. The Holy Spirit is real. It's a tangible reality that is expressed, that is... So the Spirit, when he comes, he doesn't boast of himself. He boasts on God. He boasts on the Son. Right? Jesus didn't boast on himself. He boasted on what? The Father. It's always the Father. Jesus is not less than God. The Holy Spirit is not less than Jesus. They're eternal. They are co-equal. They are not just three manifestations of the same being as oneness people would like to go into. We can disprove that, and we will later on through all kinds of scriptures where all three are present and not the same manifestation, right? And you guys have done any Bible reading, you know that. And it's like this, the love that exists between a husband and a wife is there, and it's a reality, and it's a present. When one, and this is a weak analogy because in God there is no sin or imperfections, but when one is weak, the other one is there. When the other is strong, the love is, you see what I mean? So it's always picking each other up and pulling each other and leading each other. and the Holy Spirit acts as that in us, for us, out of love. So where there is love, there is a Trinity, and that is in everything, by the way. That is in everything. Without, and this is the whole point where I went before we took the break. God, being self-existent, eternally coexistent with himself in the Trinity, needed nothing from man. He didn't need to create something to worship him. He had full community and love and unity between himself. The Pleasures of God, if there's a book you guys should read by John Piper, get it. Pleasures of God. Just write that down. Really good book. It's about that thick. And it's all on how God is pleased with himself. Now, a lot of people come off of that and they're like, man, I don't understand that. If God is not pleased with himself, he's not God. He's pleased with who he is, and he invites us into those pleasures. Right? He's perfectly pleased in the Son. The Son is perfectly pleased in the Father. And the Holy Spirit is perfectly pleased. They're never at odds with one another. They're never displeased with one another. There's not anything in any one of them that will ever bring displeasure to themselves. So thus, God is fully pleased in himself as being the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And when God created man, and put him in a garden, and we'll get to this next week. But when God created man and put him in a garden, even then, man, now we say he walked with God in the cool of the day, right? He had perfect fellowship with God. He was doing his assignments. He was naming all the animals in the earth. And yet God looked at man even in himself. Even being a Trinity in himself, as far as spirit, soul, and body, was not the way the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit was that was walking with him in the garden. Because God said, listen, there is no suitable helper for him. You know, he's with cattle and animals, and these beasts of the field, they are not of him. Therefore, they can't bring him the pleasure that we have in ourselves. You see what I'm saying? In the Trinity. So he creates woman. It's not good for man to be alone. Thus, the Trinity created a Trinity in the husband and the wife. And the love is the spirit of the bond of unity.